Dustin Poirier just dropped a massive bombshell saying he's not retiring anytime soon. He has plans for not one, but two more fights before retiring, including fighting in his hometown of New Orleans. But now the question becomes, who should he face in his final two fights? Well, today I want to list some of the top 5 opponents that I think that he should fight next. Dustin Poirier did an interview with Ariel Helwani to talk about his quote-unquote retirement to confirm that it is not happening anymore. After consistently hinting at a return on his Twitter, Dustin Poirier does confirm, yes, he is fighting not one, but two more times. And Dustin Poirier also mentioned he wants his last fight to be in his home state of Louisiana, you know, where he started his MMA career, like we saw in that Fightville documentary a long time ago. But comment in the comment section below, who do you guys think Dustin Poirier should fight next? But let's start off with number 5, Alexander Volkanovski. Now this fight makes sense based on where both of these guys are in their career. Volkanovski has lost a couple in a row. Dustin Poirier is coming off of a loss. Volkanovski has had a lot of time to recover from both those knockouts to Islam Makhachev and Ilya Topuria. Volkanovski wants to return early 2025, so does Dustin Poirier. And I also think it's really good for Volkanovski to have a fight, maybe not for a title, and to not have to cut so much weight, right? Because at this age, it's not good to keep cutting weight. And we've already seen him do so well at 155. And I just think it'd be a fun fight between two legends of the game. I'm curious to see if Volkanovski would use his grappling, but I would probably pick Dustin Poirier just because the damage that Volkanovski has received recently. And even if Volkanovski wins, I'd be so curious to see who does he fight next at 155. Does he go back down and wait? There's so many options for Volk if he wins. Number 4, I want to talk about Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker has been in the news potentially talking about fighting Conor McGregor, but Dan Hooker has confirmed that he wants to return early next year, right? Either January or March, which lines up perfectly when Dustin Poirier wants to fight. And I believe that their first fight was the best fight of the year 2020. It was honestly a great fight, and Dan has bounced back well after losing in 2020 and 2021 with wins over Jalen Turner and Mateusz Gamrot. And I think another 5-round fight would be so much fun, and I am curious to see who would win because I'm currently undecided. A lot of people forget how good Dan Hooker did, and also people forget that Dan Hooker didn't really have a gym during that training camp. It was during COVID where all the gyms in New Zealand were shut down, and he did that well against Dustin Poirier. Like, I don't know, honestly, I could see even Dan Hooker potentially winning in a rematch. I'm just not so sure right now. Before we get into the top 3, guys, I just want to remind you guys to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and also check out the link in the description to check out Audible. You get a free trial, and you can listen to books about MMA, sports, and more without actually having to read it. It's good. You guys benefit, I benefit. But let's continue with this list. Number 3, a Justin Gaethje trilogy. I would love to see this trilogy, honestly. I think this is one of the fights that I would be most looking forward to. Dustin and Justin have a very long, complicated history. In 2018, Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier both fought. It was a very tough war. Justin Gaethje brutally beating the legs of Dustin Poirier, but Dustin managed to win that one in the 4th round. In 2023, the two met up again for the revival of that BMF belt, where the first round was close, Dustin Poirier having moments, and then Justin Gaethje getting a head kick knockout early into round 2, which left Dustin admittedly depressed. Like, he was literally questioning if he should fight or not. Like, this fight means a lot for Dustin to get back, and I would love to see it because, of course, this is just going to be a banger fight. Like, both those guys are going to put on a good fight, and I also think it fits well because most likely Dustin Poirier is not going to find himself in a #1 contenders fight, especially since he's going to retire soon. But not only that, the lightweight division is so backed up with Arman Tsarukyan being online, and then you also got Chandler Oliveira for a potential #1 contenders fight. Like, it's just, the line is really backed up at lightweight. This would just be a fun fight to have, I think, early next year. That's when Justin Gaethje also wants to return, so that's totally fair. Number 2, I want to see Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 4. I know I'm probably in the minority in this, and I know everyone's going to be like, why Conor McGregor? There's no chance he's going to win. Yes, I admit too that I don't think that Conor McGregor would beat Dustin Poirier, at least right now. Like, we have to see what he looks like in his comeback, but I highly doubt it. I can't imagine Conor is going to come back better than when he left, but it's hard to deny that these two have unfinished business, right? Obviously, the first fight happened so long ago when they were both at featherweight. Conor McGregor knocked him out early, and they obviously had the rematch where Conor did have success in that fight, winning the first round and even parts of the second round, and eventually those calf kicks added up, and yeah, Conor got knocked out. Then the third fight happened where Conor, did have some moments early on the feet, but overall that first round clearly went to Dustin Poirier with good ground and pound, and then Conor McGregor broke his leg, and Conor has not fought since. And I think this is a really good fight. I mean, literally, Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier saw each other the other day. Apparently we're going to fight in some sort of Las Vegas casino, it seemed.
I don't know, bro. We just have such a long history. He said some foul things. You ever watch Family Guy? You know when Peter and the chicken run into each other? That's what would have happened.
So the two have beef, right? The two want to fight each other, and this would just be another big money fight for Dustin Poirier, and this is one of the top fights I kind of want to see from Conor McGregor if you don't count Nate Diaz. If Conor does fight in the first quarter of 2025, which is, of course, is a big if, but if that happens, I wouldn't mind if Conor gets a win, Dustin gets a win, or if they both lose, maybe they do this fight. I think that would be a fun fight to have for both of their final fights on the UFC contract, and I think the buildup would just be great too. Like, the last last time it was great.
Yo, Lee's wife!
Now, my number one pick, right? What could possibly be my number one pick? I listed everybody. Well, my number one pick is Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier have a super complicated history, right? The two were going to fight in 2018 at one point, and there's a huge dispute. Why didn't the fight happen? Was it Dustin's fault? Was it Nate Diaz's fault? Was it the UFC's fault? And since then, the two have constantly been talking about fighting each other. Remember, in 2022, Nate Diaz kept calling out Dustin Poirier. So you got the bad blood, and also it's just going to be a great fight. I mean, both those guys are boxers. You know, Nate Diaz has such a good chin. Like, I think that would just be such a fun fight, and I don't even know if Dustin could finish Nate Diaz, so I think it would be like 5 rounds of just pure, like, violence. Obviously, there's the huge fact that Nate Diaz right now isn't in the UFC, but look, Nate Diaz has talked about wanting to return to the UFC, and unless the UFC is going to be petty that they don't want Nate Diaz, it doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't have him in the UFC. Nate Diaz is a big draw, and you could have countless big fights with him. Any of those 5 options would make me very happy. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, guys. You guys are the best fan base in MMA. Hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one.